Welcome back to Inside the 261. Last time we met, Jeff, we were talking about inclement weather and it was 10 degrees out. I think today it's supposed to be a little bit warmer.
What do they say? Welcome to Kansas, huh?
There you go.
Today, we are really excited to have Craig McDaniel on. Craig is our principal at Tri-City, and he and students, staff are working on a project to support an organization that I think many people will learn today. And I think you'll really enjoy our show today, as it's going to highlight Ainsley's Angels.
I'm really looking forward to it. Let's get started. Welcome, Craig. I know you've worn a lot of hats in our district. Can you start by telling us about those hats and about Ainsley's Angels?
Sure. So I started in the district as a school psychologist that was assisting across the districts with some teachers and staff that maybe were struggling with some student behaviors. So I'd come in and help write functional behavior assessments, help write behavior plans, and just figure out how we can get those students to remain in that ready to learn state and display those adaptive behaviors.
I'm sure they appreciated that help with the behaviors for sure. And what about Ainsley's Angels? What kind of organization is it?
Sure. So Ainsley's Angels is a nationwide nonprofit. I think we're in about 32 states. And like one of our biggest tenets is inclusion without limits. So, and what we really do here more is really looking at endurance events and making sure that they're open and accessible to anyone who wants to participate in one. And so what we do is anyone with an ADA-defined disability is able to participate with us as an Ainsley's Angels athlete rider. We pair them with an angel runner, and then we provide a running chair, and then we participate in endurance events. So local 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, marathons. We participate in the Prairie Fire, I think 3 or 4 years running, the River Run. Like if there's a 5K that someone wants to participate in, we make sure that that can happen.
Fantastic.
As I understand it, Craig, you run in these events, and as I understand the program, a runner and a student in a chair that allows them to participate in the 5K?
Right. So it's anyone with an ADA-defined disability. So I started at Ainsley's. We brought it to Kansas back in 2019. At that time, there was no ambassadorships in Kansas. Now we're up to 3. And what happened was my youngest son, Michael, uses a wheelchair for mobility, and unfortunately, he has real limited functional use of his arms or legs. So there weren't a lot of sports around or community events that he could participate in. And one thing we learned when he was small was that he loved to go fast. So when he was younger, we could use a bob stroller to run, and it was pretty typical, standard. You see those at races all the time. But as he got bigger, those racing chairs are just really cost prohibitive for most families. So I found Ainsley's on the web several years before we joined, and I just thought, well, I'm not that much of a runner. I don't know that we really belong. And then I reached out to him in 2019 and was like, well, we have a chair now, we'd like to run. And they said, well, we don't have anyone in Kansas, so why don't you run it? So, well, I've never ran a nonprofit before, but let's go. And since that date, I think Michael, who's also a Haysville student, he's in Miss Luna's class up at Campus High, went through Miss Bush's class here at Haysville West. I think we've done about 50 to 60 races.
Wow.
Our culminating event was last year. We did the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. And I think just like one of the coolest things about Ainsley's is that on a nationwide level, there's a community. So we can pretty much go anywhere we want and race. And we saw that at the DC event. But then here we've been able to provide a community for like-minded runners and those individuals that wouldn't otherwise be able to participate. Now the caveat in there is any ADA-defined disability. So when I became the principal at Tri-City, I thought, well, most of our students have never participated in a race. And I already put on a 5K every year as part of the Ainsley's Angels race series. And so I thought, let's figure out how we can get our students to be able to either participate in the main 5K event, or we'll just put one on here at school. And so that's what we did. We coupled it with lessons and then training during the week. So we had lessons on healthy eating, lifestyle choices, and there's just this preponderance of evidence that goes into students with emotional disabilities and obesity. So I really thought, even though most of our kids don't necessarily need those race chairs, they still, having access to an endurance event is something that we could really celebrate, because I'm really big into celebrations. And so we decided to give it a shot. We trained 3 times a week during what we call noon fitness. So we came across the street here to Haysville West, and Nikki McMullen was nice enough to let us use the track. So we'd come out and do our mile, and then that culminated in the race. We had the arch out, the race arch. Every student that participated got a race medal and a race t-shirt. And then they also got a free entry in the main 5K that was later on that week. And we did have a couple students, and most of our staff come out and participate in the main 5K as well.
Wow, what a great event.
It was a ton of fun. Other than talking about the Kansas weather, I think we had winds of about 60 miles an hour. So we had to have the race inside in our cafeteria, or the arch in the cafeteria. So.
Well, you read my mind. I was going to ask next about the noon fitness program, which is fantastic. What is your next event that you have coming up?
So we're putting on we call it the race that I put on here as part of Ainsley's is the Rolling on the Prairie 5K. So we're going to put on the Rolling on the Prairie for Tri-City. I think it's the Friday before the race. I think the race is on May 15th or 16th. So we'll once again, we'll do our program of instruction as well as training. And then also this year we're expanding, because I have this plan in my mind, but this year Miss Bush's class here, life skills class here at Haysville West, is going to be able to participate with us. We already have several students that are in our class that race with us regularly, but we're going to open it up to them. And then we'll go down, the plan is to go down to Dorner Park, and we'll loop around the lake. It's about 1 mile, and we'll be able to celebrate there at the finish line. I think probably what is so great about doing the race at school, as coupled with Ainsley's, is a lot of the national sponsorships. And there's even though the organization has been around for over a decade, we've never actually, as far as I know, have coupled with a public school like this. So when I shared that with the national leadership, that this is what we were doing, they got together with one of the race series sponsors on running shoes and apparel, and On is going to donate a pair of On running shoes to each and every one of our students. So that's super exciting. So now they're going to, half of racing and endurance events is looking good. If you look good when you show up, it doesn't matter your time.
That's half of everything.
Exactly.
Not just racing.
So you partnered with a shoe company.
Yeah.
And they're going to provide your students, each one of them, with a pair of shoes. What are some of the other really cool spin-offs that have occurred since you've implemented the Run for Ainsley's Angels?
So one thing, I wanted to make sure that we're using our students' time wisely. So I had a couple of things I looked at last year. Attendance, emergency safety interventions, which are those restraints, were 2 of the biggest ones I looked at. I said, well, if we're going to be spending our time, learning about healthy choices and then getting out and exercises, I need to, I was mostly worried that you were going to come in and say, what are you doing with these students? So I was all ready. And we found that those emergency safety interventions went down, and our attendance went up. And so we were actually, we applied to and were selected to be a part of the district showcase at the Kansas State School Board's main convention here in Wichita. So that was incredible. We got to take a couple of our students over and participate all day and tell people about the program that we were running.
So again, great opportunities for your students outside of school. I'm curious, you talked about your race. Have any of your students participated in a race outside of school since you've implemented the program?
I haven't asked, so I'm not sure. And that's one thing I think we can probably pick up a little bit more is once they, they're racing with us, then any Ainsley's Angel athlete rider participates in all the races for free. So I think that maybe that could be like a next step, as well as like looking at a couple of the smaller races and seeing if some of our kids want to come out and participate in them. I think that'd be really cool to see them out in the community doing that.
Craig, if we have somebody watching who wants to support your students or Ainsley's Angels, how would they go about getting involved?
So you can just search Ainsley's Angels of America on the web, and there's a national website, and you can get down to we are the Central Kansas Ambassadorship. We also have a Facebook page, Ainsley's Angels in Kansas, and we keep everyone up to date as far as what we're up to there. And even if it's just if you're a runner and you see us out there, you can stop and talk to any one of us. We're more than happy to share about our mission and how to get involved. There's no, for runners, there's no cost to join, and we usually can get pretty good discounts from race directors as far as race registration and things like that. And if you know someone that would like to participate with us as an Angel Rider, again, the same thing, sign up. We have the chairs. I know that's something people talk about. So, well, I don't want to use one of your chairs. We have like 40 of them now. So we're good to go. We can get the chairs and we can get the runners for sure. But it's just so cool to see, not only our students, but all of our Angel Riders I think about it as like we get them off the sideline and get them across the finish line. Because when they're out in the race, they're a participant, and they're fully, celebrated the same way all runners are. And I think to be a part of that, whether it's at the start line with all the hoopla that goes with that, or completing the mission and coming across that finish line, they get the medal the same way the runner does. And we really think about it as like our athlete riders pull us across the finish line. And having pushed Michael, I think several thousand miles at this point, I can certainly attest, his smile and his enjoyment of being a part of the community instead of being on the sideline of the community is just so huge.
So you talked a little bit about involving Haysville West. Do you look to expand this program into campus and maybe even to our elementary schools?
So, I try to think a little bit ahead, but yeah, so absolutely. So this year our race medal celebrates the Gator because we're the Tri-City Gators. So that's right, the Tri-City Gators. So our race medal and our race shirt will feature a Gator, which I'm sure, because the race series is a nationwide thing, people when they see, well, this race is in Kansas, what is there a Gator do? But so then next year we would look at adding the Haysville West gorilla, getting the gorilla in there, and then so as we go to building it bigger and bigger with our students here in Haysville, I like to incorporate the mascots that way. But certainly as a Haysville resident, we have a lot of kids within the district that are participating with us, and we're pretty well known, I think, in the community as far as that community of runners. So I think just to keep building that and having the race, having a separate race, I think really can give our students a taste of what it's like to see if they want to come out and participate with us on those bigger race days.
Well, what a wonderful opportunity you have brought to our district and to your students, and we really, really appreciate you being here today, Craig.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love talking about Ainsley's.
Thank you for being on.
Thanks.
I always learn something new on Inside the 261, Jeff, and today was no exception.
Well, I tell you what, you could obviously hear the passion for Ainsley's Angels in Mr. McDaniel's voice and his excitement for the program. And this is another really great example of the work being done every day in our district by our staff, our students, and our community. And I want to congratulate Mr. McDaniel and his staff and students on a wonderful project, and I'm really excited to see how it grows and spreads throughout our district. I think there's some great opportunities here to involve kids and families from all of our schools. So hopefully those of you that watch today's show will have an opportunity, if this is something that interests you, to get involved with Ainsley's Angels. It's an exciting program.
For sure. Today, we are going to do a launch, and it is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve." So our challenge to you today is to go out and find somebody to serve. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Inside the 261.
Have a wonderful day.
Inside the 261. 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 Inside the 261.